All right, hello everybody, and welcome to the February 1st, 2022 iteration of the Kubernetes SIG Windows community meeting. As always, this meeting is recorded and uploaded to YouTube, so be sure to adhere to the CNCF Code of Conduct. For announcements, I don't think there's a lot. The one big one that's keeping a lot of SIGs busy is the enhancement freeze is in 2 days. I checked again, and as far as I know, all of the enhancements that we're tracking are good to go. I think there's one nit on the OS field one. One of the pod or one of the kept numbers was incorrect. I opened a PR for that this morning. I think all the other ones are tracked by the enhancements team. So good job, everybody, for getting those in early. Does anybody else have any announcements? If not, we can go into the agenda. Okay, first one was Windows Server 2022 support. We started talking about this before the recording, but let's we could just recap that. Arvind, did you want to ask?
Sure. Yeah. So the question was, I know we have declared support for Windows Server 2022, but we did get some feedback from Microsoft through other channels that there are some outstanding issues, and we were just wondering what those outstanding issues were, given that I couldn't figure that out off the top of my head.
Yeah, and so for node port tests, we know there are some failing tests. There are 2 of them that are failing consistently. And then there also is an issue with the L2 bridge networking. I don't have the details on that one in particular, but I could probably follow up in the Slack with it.
So James, the issues are like, would they require fixes in Windows itself, or is it something that needs to be fixed on the Kubernetes side?
Yeah, so for the node port, it looks like it's going to be an OS fix. Or they're still working through that exact issue, but they were able to, the networking team was able to reproduce it. And right now it looks like it's gonna be an O fix, but we're not 100% sure.
Okay, is there a way to track this? Is there something on the Microsoft containers project, like an issue there?
If there isn't, there should be.
Okay, all right.
Muzz, do you know if we're tracking this on the Windows containers? Or is that the best place to track this?
Yes, we have the bug tracked in ADO.
Yeah, but the other people can't see.
Oh yeah,
ADO.
yeah, it's not open to the public.
Yeah, I think if it's not there, I think we should open one for tracking. Jing, can you open one and try, link it to ADO if you have the ADO link?
Yeah, sure, I can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be great for us because we had a customer trying some of our experimental 2022 support, and they logged a bug specifically about this. So I'm glad this came up.
Oh, okay.
2019 works fine. 2022 doesn't. We haven't had a chance to dig into it yet, but it sounds like this is the cause.
So where should I log the bug, by the way?
Oh, in the GitHub Windows containers, Jing?
Yeah, it's just in the GitHub, just
Yeah.
start. Okay,
Right.
yeah.
And just tag it with Windows Server 2022 so that folks know.
So upstream documentation says that it's supported. So should we remove that line from the upstream docs saying 2022 is, once we declare support, we possibly can roll it back in, but should we remove it from upstream docs? Because few customers reached out to me, and I work with Arvind, and said, hey, 2022 support upstream, why is it not support an OpenShift yet? And so I think it might be good to kind of remove that till it's fixed.
Anand, is it a blocking issue, or is it something like you could work Windows Server 2022, but it's more of a pain point? Because I think the support will still have issues, right? If it's a blocking issue, I think this group should make the determination if we should say it's supported or not.
Yeah, this is definitely not a blocking issue. This is more like customers sending us links to the upstream docs and saying, hey, does Red Hat OpenShift support 22? It looks like upstream does. And, we kind of have to say, we're still waiting to do some end-to-end tests and things like that. But this is, more of, Q&A with customers, right? To find out what's possible versus what's not. So not a blocking issue. There's like no production customer who is, waiting for support. But yeah, would be good to get some consistency.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to block us for saying that we're going to support 2022 because it's just if you need certain features, right, that you're going to run into issues. So
For now, should we update the 123 docs and say, like, point to, maybe just say that there are like these 2 known issues and point to the issue that we're going to file?
Yeah, I was about to suggest that, Mark. I think it's fine to say we support 2022. We just should say these are the known issues so that it's easy for everybody to point at the upstream docs and say, hey, these are known issues. Hold your horses. It's going to get fixed, sort of thing.
Okay.
So is it okay to mention the voice, the fixes in the voice so that like in case customers wanted to upgrade again or something, they should be aware of that, right?
Yeah, so what we've done in the past is we have put in like I don't know, I'll need to double check this exactly, but we've mentioned like saying specific functionality doesn't work. And then when we know which set of the cumulative updates fix that, we've added a note onto the release pages for a couple and left that there for a couple of releases and said, for this functionality to be enabled, you need to run with this patch version or later.
Okay.
Yeah, I like
And-
the idea, Mark. I think the overall doc, I mean, unless somebody trying to run Windows Server 2022 cannot run at all and it's completely blocking some critical functionality, we should say it is supported with these issues. I think we have done this in 2019 and 20H1 and others as well.
Yeah, we did this for a couple of things with Containerd support as well.
So I was able to find the information on the L2 bridge thing. It's also related to node port issues. And so, but it's a flake. Whereas with the other 2 node port issues, we're seeing it consistently in overlay fail.
Okay, yeah, we'll work on getting some more docs and an issue with that. Good discussion. Does anybody have anything else about the Windows Server 2022 support, or we can just add on to the issues once they get created or PRs? Okay, that kind of goes into a little bit of the next issue. We have at Microsoft have noticed that the 1B security patches have caused a couple of issues and just wanted to see if anybody else was seeing some of these same issues and to just raise some awareness. The big one that we were tracking was that there seemed to be an issue with installing features on demand. So this is the Windows add capability PowerShell commandlets for the SSH servers, specifically on Windows Server 22. This has been fixed, but some of our validation was just showing some general strangeness.
yes, I've experienced this with vagrant installs of the containers feature and SSH server on 2022. It's weird. It's inconsistent. Like sometimes it'll install fine. I thought it was an internet connection issue, but
It was resolved 2 days ago. And
Okay.
so or yesterday, I forget exactly, but so it should be passing now. If it's not, let me know and I will.
okay.
follow up.
But like I said, it's very spotty. Like it wasn't consistent. So if this is not consistent, then it's probably the similar issue.
Okay, yeah, the feature on demand thing for Windows Server 2022 is a particular build, and it failed. It failed consistently. So
Okay.
if that's not what you're seeing, it may be something different.
I think, James, weren't we also seeing just some general weirdness with some of the Azure VMs not coming up when they're based on that patch, the same patches, but
Yeah,
seeing something's going on. We've reached out to some teams at Microsoft to kind of figure out what's going on with those patches.
And Mark,
But-
is the bug tracked somewhere in the GitHub? The feature on demand one.
I don't know. James, you know? Or is that-
it was not, but it's resolved now. It was a publishing issue. So I worked with the WST team to resolve that.
Yeah, the reason I ask is a feature on demand in general is a file, we call it. Some customer have been asking by looking from image composition point of view. So I was actually happy to see this is resolved, but I want to see, like, underneath is this relevant or not? Maybe I can ping you, James, offline. I think it's also good to track for issues we fix, so we can tell customer if they run into, or also we can add validation going forward.
Yeah, let's sync offline.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm not sure where to track this either, because these features aren't specific to Windows containers. So I don't know if the Microsoft Windows containers GitHub is appropriate for that, but I think we should figure out
Yeah. Okay.
place to raise that. Oh yeah, if anybody else is seeing any other weird issues, like Jamie, if you want to follow up on Slack with what you're seeing, you can see if it's similar to what we've seen and see if we can get to the bottom of that.
Okay. Generally, my approach to a lot of weird issues is just run Windows updates and then they go away. So.
Except in this case, it seemed like that introduced some. But
Yeah, that's par for the course.
yeah.
That's-
All right, Jamie, did you want to mention the home charts for GMSA?
Yeah, so I've been talking to James a little bit. I'll be submitting a PR this week for a GMSA chart. So CRDs with Helm, you can only install, you can't update, but I'm going to include the capability to just get everything at once. And then there's an open issue for adding cert manager support for generating the cert. So I kind of already have that kind of working. So I'm going to, all those goodies are going to be in there in the home charts. If there's anything particular that somebody would like to see, just ping me on Slack and let me know. And then it's going to be, you can choose to use Cert Manager by default. If you don't have it installed, you can provide the search yourself. And then the GMSA credential is going to be optional, but it'll be included in the chart. So you can, just add a credential as you go. I don't know enough about how people are using it. I know how I've seen people use it in the past. So if you're a heavy user of it, just let me know, like kind of what your workflow looks like or something like that, so I can make some tweaks ahead of time. But I'll post the PR in the Slack when it's up so people can give feedback.
Awesome. Yeah, that'll be super helpful. I think that was one of the first issues created in that repository, right? To add Helm support.
Oh, is it?
I think so. Or I saw that it's been open for a while.
Yeah,
that's something that I've wanted to do for a while, but hasn't been high enough priority.
And I'm going to follow some of the patterns that are used in the CSI charts for like how to organize it, because I like how that's laid out. So if anybody has a strong opinions to structure and stuff, just yet again, let me know. But I'll post the PDR up when it's done.
Awesome. And maybe in one of the future meetings, this would be a good demo.
Yeah, I'm going to have a test environment set up. So if I get that up, then next week might be a good time to do it.
Great. Does anybody have any questions about GMSA work or anything else? All right. Does anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss for the remaining 10 minutes, or should we stop into the after hours?
Yeah, this is Wei-Juan from Microsoft. I have something not planned. I need to do better on planning. So talking to people in the community in the past, and this brought it up, I want to just get interest here in terms, like, have a sort of conference focused on Windows container. If you guys recall, Craig Peters used to run the community, and I think we had maybe 2 years ago in the summer, we had those Windows Container Day, something like that, and people invited on site. And I think in Microsoft, I was out on vacation, but I remember seeing all the buzz, and it was really well received. Just community driven, and we like to, we're just starting to talk about an idea, having something like that, kind of like, I think it would start from a few folks in the community talking like, WSL, they have a conference. So, we could Windows Container, we are now community is growing strong and expanding and a lot of buzz around. So I think maybe we can do something like that. So I want to kind of tell the idea to hear from you guys. What do you guys think? And it's not like happening over time or in the months. We can prepare, looking at maybe summer or even the fall, and we can also think about what kind of content we should have, or even how do we do the content, and do we need a budget, and where the budget come from, what will be a theme, etc. So I want to just tell this out for folks here. We can do a quick brainstorm, and if needed, we go deeper discussion in the future or write a proposal.
Was this the Windows Container Unconference thing that happened a couple of years ago?
Yeah, I forgot the name. What the name? But it was maybe that was it. Yeah.
Okay, if it was that, I attended it and I found it really useful. So I'm 100% plus on doing something similar, focused on Windows containers.
Yeah, I mean, that was the unconference, yes.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed it. It was super useful. And it was
Okay.
in the early days when we had started working on Windows containers. And we got lots of questions answered. So double thumbs up.
Cool. And then, well, I would just pause. Anyone else have any other, suggestion or content? Because 2 years ago, and now I think things are very different. Like, I mean, like just the community is growing, such as myself in this meeting, so I just want to hear any people have any ideas, other thoughts, how we want to do it, or what should be the goal, any top of mind.
So is this going to be open for all customers like Microsoft, Red Hat, etc.?
Yeah, it's well, we are sort of a decision maker, like like we can decide what we want to do, right? The goal is really how do we have a community for Windows Container. Like my personal experience, a few years ago, I was in person in KubeCon, and it was like the energy there is just overwhelming, and just like it was like, wow, it opened my eyes. And I personally have thought about the goal, like we need something for Windows Container, because that's such an open platform, give everyone the power and then energy to be connected and do something. And that is at least my goal. And I'm hearing and talk to a lot of people, seem like that's a common interest. And there we go.
Yeah, so I think I found a link to the announcement for the first one. I dropped that in here and opened that up here.
Did we do a second one? I don't remember.
This was about 3 years ago, so I think this is when you were talking to.
Yeah, that was the one. Yeah,
This is unconference. Yeah, so this correct. Yeah, so correct. I mean, I can tell you a little bit. I was there. I think I presented something as well. But yeah, this was conference where we had sessions on networking, where I think our networking team went really deep. I think Taylor did an architectural session literally on whiteboard. Everybody gathered around. I mean, it was an unconference, so it was really cool to go in deep into the architecture of Windows containers and how different components works, and then also talk about the trends and all that.
Yeah. Taylor Brown session's great. I'll tell Taylor. Yeah, and it can be, the format wise can be anything. It can be unconference, whatever you want to decide, right? As long as we kind of agreed on what the goal and what the community needs and meet such needs. It's flexible, and then also there's an option of does it have to be in person or online, right? This is maybe a little bit unknown, with COVID situation changes. Probably plan online, but maybe some offline, but I'm not too, worried about that. It's really about like, is this something people really like to have? And also what kind of common objective we want to achieve, and who should be invited and how we do that. And what I'm hearing is like, everyone seems to be very interested. It's about time to pick that up and then give it a try. So my next question is like, how usually, SIG Windows play a role, or CNSAF play a role for things like that? Like, is this the right platform to talk about this?
So I was going to jump in and say, there's these pre-days for KubeCon, and that might be a good way to organize it and also involve the larger community, like the CNCF community. And so I don't know how to get onto one of those pre-days, but I'm sure we can figure that out by asking.
Are you talking about
the right Slack.
the next KubeCon pre-days to discuss?
Oh, it may be too late for the next KubeCon, but the KubeCon.
The next
after that
KubeCon's
might-
in Valencia, and it's that one's coming up in the spring. But maybe we can target the next KubeCon NA, which I think was it in Cleveland this fall? That might be
Correct.
good.
Yeah, in October in Cleveland, yes.
Yeah, I was
Oh.
actually thinking of seeing if we could line that up time-wise with
Okay.
the pre-days.
So to be clear, you guys are suggesting this conference or unconference can be part of the KubeCon pre-day. Am I right?
I think let's look into that. I'm not familiar with that either, but maybe Laki from Microsoft would have more
Okay,
information
yeah.
about
Yeah, this
what
is
that entails, and we can see
right.
how, like, if that makes sense to try and do it something separate. Like, it looks like this one was pretty was separate, but
Okay.
or to go to kind of pair on
Sure.
piggyback
Yeah.
on the Kubernetes
Okay.
the
Yeah.
KubeCon.
So one, data point from my side is, I think the volume of interest for Windows containers, especially in 2022, for whatever reason, has been very high, and a lot of customers are interested in the end-to-end containerization journey. Like, how do I take the source code, containerize it, put it through a build pipeline? What kind of image registry do I use? How do I secure Windows containers? For instance, how does a new PSP++ apply to Windows containers? How do I monitor, log it? So the whole end-to-end story, I think it'll be good to come up with an agenda that kind of covers the whole app modernization journey. And also for the KubeCon pre-day, I think that's a great idea. But I was thinking, maybe just a separate day, which is not
Right.
close to KubeCon, because we could get drowned out in the noise, and there's a lot of things happening around KubeCon, and
Yeah,
there's a service
right.
mesh day, there is an Envoy day and whatnot. So we could get drowned out with all the other noise in the community. So maybe we just pick some random date and invite customers and do it. That way we have focused dedicated attention to this topic.
Sure.
That's just another point of view.
I
Yeah.
almost wonder if we would want two kind of separate either sessions or tracks, like one that's more focused on developers, people who are, implementing Windows supporting Kubernetes for their infrastructure providers, and then maybe another one for customers who are trying to, do the app modernization and everything. And I think the audience for somewhat could overlap quite a bit, but maybe have two focuses. I think there might be enough interest in both, honestly.
Yeah,
no,
I think that's right on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a phenomenal idea, because what happens is our Red Hat customer base, I mean, we are kind of building out the clusters, so all the cluster infrastructure services, we talk through it pretty confidently. But when it comes to application development, right, I mean, that's where we kind of lean on Microsoft a lot, because all the developer tooling, the CI pipeline, all of that ecosystem is pretty much, we lean on the Microsoft piece. So we get to get two tracks, the developer track and then the ops track or the DevOps track, and target audiences based on that. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Yeah, great. And also I like Nandi mentioned about the interest in Server 2022. I was thinking if we it takes planning, but if we see enough interest to have a dedicated sort of webinar or some workshop earlier outside the conference, we can also do that, like a little bit more, less management overhead, but it's more like, community sort of work together. We can also do that, because if we're talking about on conferences the fall this year, having Server 2020 discussion then might be too late. So it looks like we have a lot of interest in and a lot of customer inquiries, and I think a lot of ideas. I'm glad I bring this conversation. I think I can follow up with you guys offline, and also welcome you guys to send idea. Probably I can, we can start idea on the GitHub and let people to chime in. And again, this is very early discussion. Like inside Microsoft, we haven't checked with a lot of folks. I feel like I'm lucky I haven't talked to him yet. I only talked to my team briefly. Taylor knows, Muzz knows, but it's great to have an idea here. So we'll keep noting on that, and then we can come to some proposal and maybe start forming a committee for planning. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and also if we're serious about this, we can put a link to a survey in the next KubeCon talk
Right.
for KubeCon EU to see what kinds of content other like people would want to see.
Oh,
That
yeah.
might be a good place to like just in the talk or around KubeCon
Yeah.
might be a good place to, you know, solicit feedback on content stuff too.
Yeah, we are serious. If you guys know like who we should connect with, the KubeCon planner level, like to leverage all the avenue resources, let me know because we can start doing those like multiple work stream. You know, talk to KubeCon planning team, talk here or there. So if you guys have the input, just let me know.
Yeah.
Yeah, to Anand's point, I think, and Mark, we have seen this in KubeCon as well. I mean, this is just, you know, the feedback we've gotten over KubeCon again and again. I think the sessions for Windows are really good. Like we focus on the features and stuff, but you have basically two audience, and it's always a struggle. One, you have who are really advanced and who want to know about host process containers and all those. But then what to Anand's point, there are a lot of customers who want that journey. Hey, I have an application running today. Where do I go from point A to like all the way to production? And because of our session, like we have to focus on like, you know, the latest stuff. We never get to it, and we always get questions on those topics. So I think if this conference could tackle both of them in detail, I think that will be definitely of interest.
Yeah, I agree with that. And part of that is the maintainer track talks for KubeCon are like, that's one of the ways that the Kubernetes each SIG gives updates. So some of that is kind of built in, like some of the more specifics about new features coming is more or less a requirement of some of those, which why it eats some of the time. But if there is interest, we should definitely find a bigger space to discuss that.
Okay, sounds great. So I think we'll have a lot of idea. We probably can start draft like a plan for the plan, and then maybe come back in the future SIG Windows meeting. We can keep iterating and also open up to the community. Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, I need to drop for the SIG node meeting. James, I mean, do any of you want to do the after hours?
Sure.
Okay,
What's
good. I
on
will
the
stop this.
You might have to hand off. I didn't sign in as the lead, so I might have to hand it off to myself or Claudia.